I feel 98% confident that the first thing you're looking at is whether she's pretty. I asked men, do you like women? Would you say that you could completely disregard it, given that everything else that you're interested in is fulfilled for you?
Yo, what is going on, guys? Got a video for you here today. Why is dating so damn hard? Let's just jump right into it. Don't forget to leave your thoughts and your comments.
Those of you that are having a bad time dating, getting thousands of comments saying you just want to be understood, but you're not really giving me much to go on.
Just by the way, she's talking about men here, and men have made it very clear as to why they're not participating in dating or why they're taking a step back from it. Like, I just find it interesting how so many people on the internet, guys, they claim like men are just these confusing enigmas, but men have actually made this stuff very damn clear.
There's quite a lot to go on here. You should get a copy.
I'm really trying to extend an olive branch and have an honest discussion. I feel 98% confident that the first thing you're looking at is whether she's pretty.
So basically she's asking, are you failing because your standards for looks are too high? And no, but let's go bit by bit.
I asked men, do you like women?
Hang on, that's two questions. Am I failing just because I can't get a hot one? And do I like women? And the answers are no and nothing in the universe is all good or all bad. There are things we like about women and things we don't like. And me and the boys have been having a chat, and we tend to agree that as time goes on, the juice gets less worth the squeeze.
I think this has been a pretty commonly agreed on thing, guys, where, you know, modern women these days just aren't really worth the effort. You could make more of an argument on traditional women, feminine women, and that sort of thing, but the quality of women these days has certainly dropped. And it doesn't mean that, oh, men just dislike women, or men are out here trying to bash women, or whatever the case may be. It's just that a lot of guys don't actually see the value in having relationships and approaching modern day women and getting married and that sort of thing. Again, the reasons for this are fairly damn obvious, but it's just gotten way worse over time. Like, the young dudes in particular are getting absolutely screwed over by this. I've seen dudes who are like married for 30 years, and they're oftentimes really empathetic towards the younger generation because they know how terrible it's gotten.
This is the standard female delusion chart. It's a bit of a mockery of how women view men and themselves and each other, but I also punch men in it. Over here we have anime fans who are too happy to be talking to any girl at all, and over here we have the guy who calls every girl a 2 so he can feel like a big man. I think you might be falling victim to this. There's two things you have to remember about the dating world right now. One is that when people get together, they tend to end up with someone on the same level or at least very similar, but people are getting together less and hooking up more, which looks more like this. And that dynamic is being mediated by technology, and it feels like this. This girl has hair like you. I drew her a year ago. So it's not as much about looks as you think.
Yeah, women have this misconception, by the way. Like, they really think that men have this end-all, be-all thing when it comes to looks. Like, obviously, men are attracted to attractive women. That's fairly obvious. Okay, everybody knows this. But the thing is, if a man is looking for a relationship and stuff like that, you don't have to be some top-tier model to lock down a guy. There are plenty of women who are highly attractive who will just straight up lose to women who are pleasant to be around. And that's the thing these women just don't seem to understand, is they think that, oh, if I just keep improving my looks because that's what Chad wants from me, then, you know, that's the reality, okay? And I'm going to be able to lock down Chad, and that's all that men care about. It's like, no, that's all that Chad cares about because that's all he's using you for. So this is a misconception that women have, guys. It's actually crazy. You'll have women who are highly attractive but are just completely intolerable, but they think that the reason they can't get a relationship is because they're not attractive enough or because they don't have some surgery or something. It's actually very sad, by the way, that women come to that conclusion. But the reason they come to that conclusion is because they have nothing else to offer men. When they're going out there dating, the dudes don't want anything else to do with them. They don't want to hang around you because the personality is usually not fantastic, you know, or she just adds more stress to his life. So the women infer that, well, the reason why he doesn't keep me around more is because I'm not attractive enough. But usually that's not actually the case. You don't have to be some supermodel woman to lock down a guy, even a successful one. You just have to be pleasant to be around. But unfortunately, that seems like a tall order these days.
Men and women have a hard time understanding each other. I learned about this by reading and taking notes.
Like, how heavily would you weight the looks category? I feel 98% confident that the first thing you're looking at is whether she's pretty.
Chronologically, yes, most of us can take one glance at you and know right away, like, you're not getting past this line or this one, or you're a contender for this box. But most people will end up with someone very close to them in looks. So you shouldn't be so worried about that first part. It's mostly for show.
Would you say that you could completely disregard it, given that everything else that you're interested in is fulfilled for you?
This woman's a little bit delusional. So she's trying to say that dating is difficult for men because we overvalue looks and that's all we care about. But obviously that's completely untrue. Obviously men do care about looks, but again, it's not the be-all, end-all. If you're a woman and you are single, it's typically not because of the way you look. Now, a lot of dudes might roast you for the way you look. You might make some questionable decisions as to how you present yourself. But this is not typically the bottleneck that's actually preventing women from getting into relationships with men. Men actually have very little requirements when it comes to who they will take seriously. And a lot of modern day women simply don't fit that, guys. Like, if you go ask a guy, he'll be like, well, I want a woman who's nice to me and who isn't overweight, basically. And then you're like 80% of the way there. But a lot of the women can't even do the nice to you part. Like, you open doors for strangers these days, you open doors for women. And, I remember the last time I opened a door for a woman who had 2 children because she was going to struggle to get out. And the woman didn't even look at me, didn't even say thank you, and nothing of the sort, right? And this is the kind of thing where, like, okay, do the looks really matter if the women are just being unpleasant? Do the looks really matter if I'm going to get screwed over because of common law marriage? Do the looks really matter if she doesn't have the capability of actually pair bonding with you, which a lot of them don't? So again, a lot of guys will actually look past the looks, or it's not as important as these women think that it actually is.
Well, no, that's not realistic. Nobody's just going to say, let's forget about that. It's more like there's a minimum for each one of these sections, and then what we learn about you here and here can move you up or down.
That's totally accurate. And I would say, again, it doesn't even, like, you don't have to be a supermodel to get into the top tier, keepers here that you would marry, for example, for a man. Like, this woman's saying, what, are men just supposed to completely disregard how you look? So we're just supposed to accept you if you can't control yourself when you eat whatsoever, for example? Like, that's obviously ridiculous. And let's be real about it, guys. Women actually have far higher standards when it comes to men, even for things that we can't change. So like height, for example, or, receding hairlines and so on. Maybe you're going bald. I mean, you can prevent that to a large degree if you get on top of it early. But that sort of thing, like, women have way higher requirements when it comes to these sorts of things. So I do find it weird how, these women will be like, yeah, but, all you care about is looks. Maybe all Chad cares about is looks because he doesn't need anything or want anything else from you.
Realistic. Nobody's just going to say, let's forget about that. It's more like there's a minimum for each one of these sections, and then what we learn about you here and here can move you up or down. I have heard guys tell their girlfriends, you are really cool and I really like you, but I don't want my friends to see me with you until you lose weight and therefore become more valuable.
Would you say that if you combined all the other categories, they're not going to quite measure up to the looks?
See, I think your question is coming from the wrong place. That's different for everyone. Some guys will put up with a lot of crap here for good enough looks, and some guys will give up looks for a good enough person, and you never know who feels what. That's why I made the chart. You look at how they treat you, and then you figure out why. And
I think for the most part, men can be really quite lenient with looks. If they get a woman who actually cares about him, who has other qualities that he's interested in, for example, hasn't been with 500 men would be a good start. Again, men are very flexible with this sort of thing. Like, I've said this many times in this video already, but you don't need to be a supermodel to lock down a man that you might want. And this is a fallacy that a lot of women have, guys. Like, I'm telling you, it is so damn common, because the thing is, the men only want to have them around for one thing because they don't see benefit elsewhere. You know, like, let's be real about it, okay? You know, you've got women like this over on TikTok. The chads and the men that they're hooking up with don't need this woman around for emotional support. They don't want her to cook him food, probably. You know, a lot of them are not going to be particularly pleasant. Like, they're not going to make your life stress-free. Let's put it that way. These women are typically not the women, at least these days, that you're going to want to come home to, because oftentimes you're just kind of going to get another headache. And men don't want extra headaches. Men are very, very simple. If you can make a man's life easier, if you are pleasant to be around, you are off to a fantastic start. Throw into that you don't, completely ruin your body with your eating choices, and you're most of the way there. But usually women are missing one of those things. And usually it's in the attitude department, honestly.
Out why. And the biggest reason that I hear men giving for a low score is this section here. And I think that's the section you pay attention to the least.
He's absolutely correct, by the way. This is a big one, guys. Like, the reason why some of these women, or a lot of these women, can't be seen in public with the men that they're into is because those men don't want to be embarrassed. You know, like, they're out here hooking up with these chads and having their fun and all of that sort of thing. And they're like, wow, why won't he take me out to dinner? The reason why the dude doesn't want to take you out to dinner is probably not because he wants to, it's not even so much about money. A lot of guys, it's just like, well, why would I? And also, it's embarrassing. You know, there is nothing more embarrassing for a man than if he takes you to, I don't know, some lunch spot or some dinner spot, and then you know the waiter, okay? Or you know a bunch of the dudes there or something like that. This is highly, highly repulsive to men. Okay, if you've been with a whole bunch of other guys, chances are your pair bonding ability is fried, and it's also, getting commitment out of men is going to be a lot harder for you.
I renamed it Purity on Zones 3. It's more inclusive. See, I have never had a hard time finding women that look good enough. I've never had a hard time finding women who are fun to be around.
I think maybe he's being a little bit generous, but I don't know. Maybe he maybe he can look past the modern day personalities.
I've never had a very hard time finding both in the same person, but I have always had a very hard time finding women who were not otherwise occupied.
Yeah, and this is the real deal breaker, isn't it? Right? When dudes are out there dating, is okay, this woman, she might seem fantastic, she might seem super nice, and she's pleasant to be around, and she's feminine, and then you find out she's been with like 35 dudes. And let's be real, like, women will absolutely always lie about this. Everybody knows this at this point, but it's something that is highly, highly repulsive to men. This is probably the equivalent of a woman dating a man and then finding out that he is unemployed at like 27 years of age. She'd be like, she'll be like, okay, let's just assume the woman's like 29 or something, and she's on the clock. She's ready to have her family and settle down with the kids now that she's done partying. And she finds out the dude she's been dating is essentially homeless, right? Like, that's probably the mental equivalent. Women are just going to be like, oh, I can't have a relationship with this guy. And maybe rightfully so. How they're going to support a family or whatever the hell. But the point is, this is a very, very big issue for men.
That's where we get the name of my channel from. When women are so occupied all the time, it is difficult to bond with them. That is what makes dating hard. It's these guys. Remember this drawing of the girl with your hairdo? She's sucking the life out of this guy through the phone. Do you understand what that means? If you use dating apps, you probably get a lot of low-quality messages. Well, instead of those, what we get is nothing. Unless you are in the top 10%, which I was for a while, but when I aged out and ended up down here, I thought I got shadow banned from Bumble.
I like this guy's card. Let me just pull it back here for a second. So what he's saying here is any man who's below a 7 is essentially invisible, but he's actually taken it a step further and he's made a cute little ghost card here that says not people. And this is kind of the situation where we're at, guys, right? Is like, if women don't really view you in this top percentage here, you might as well not be considered a human, man. Like, you're essentially invisible. Like, it's really gotten that bad. And I don't particularly care if women find me visible or not. I'm not out here trying to talk to women, for example. It's not really, my cup of tea, as it were. But the fact of the matter is that most men are completely invisible to women. So when women start to complain about dating, men aren't going to have empathy because most men are completely invisible. Like, completely. And the crazy thing is, guys, is you can actually have your life together. You can have a fantastic job. You can be a guy who hits the gym and all of that sort of thing. But then there comes the issue of like presenting it on social. You have to maintain this stupid appearance on social media because for modern day women, unfortunately, social media is essentially reality. So you can be some doctor guy who makes good money and you hit the gym and that sort of thing. But if you can't present yourself well on social media as well, she's like, you're essentially just not a person until maybe she hears about your career directly or something like that. But this is absolutely true, okay? Below a 7, you could even argue higher, depending on how subjective the woman is, but below a 7, man, yeah, you're essentially invisible for the most part.
Shadow banned from Bumble. These are the results for the average male dating app user. And remember, some guys get a lot of matches. I used to match with about half of my swipes, and this is the average. So the average guy swipes right 52% of the time, gets a match only 2% of the time, and then, I can't even draw this, there's no room on the paper. This is like enlarged to show texture. Most matches don't respond, most responses don't meet up, and most of the ones you meet don't go anywhere. Think about what that much rejection does to us. And you can...
Yeah, and what ends up happening is men just kind of stop participating, right? Is because, like, what's the point of continuing to reach out to these women, to put all this effort in and all of that, if you're just going to be met with crickets in response? Now, the thing is, guys, I think that men should be putting effort into themselves regardless, like hitting the gym, trying to make money, trying to make a life for themselves and that sort of stuff. But doing that in order to not be rejected by a woman is a completely ridiculous strategy. You're just going to be losing your hair if this is your strategy going forward. Actively doing things to impress women or try to attract women, probably not the best strategy. If you're going to go to the gym, make sure it's because it's something you enjoy and you want to be healthy or something like that. But, like, really, the fact that this guy had to zoom in, by the way, because this is accurate, right? He had to zoom in so harshly to show you the average man's results. Completely insane.
Does to us. And you can make fun of us, and a lot of people do, for saying that a dating app hurt our feelings, but it's just biology. Rejection causes a physical, chemical process in the body, and it feels really bad. So you're on one end absorbing infinity likes and feeling like a princess, but for us, it's like, well, why did you match if you didn't want to talk to me?
Yeah, and let's be real, women don't actually care about this, okay? No, not to be all doomer about it, guys, but, people don't really care about the experiences of men. So, the faster I would say that you recognize this as a reality and just move on, the better. People don't listen. They don't care for the struggles of men. Dating apps are complete poison for the vast majority of men. So in my opinion, it's just kind of best to move on from there. But again, totally accurate, right? The experience of dating for the average guy is essentially just repeated rejections that are incredibly draining. So, social media and stuff like this, not a fantastic move.
You got a match. Just kidding. You got a match. Just kidding. That doesn't feel good. And it's not just apps. Liberation results in a lot of confusion. These are timelines. This is the revealed past conversation. That is when you let us get attached, and then you drop all the dirt on yourself.
Guys, you gotta understand how funny this is. Okay, because it's so accurate, right? Like, go to this part here. Let's just say a woman tells you about her past. This is probably your interest level. Immediately just plummets. And that's why, guys, I'm telling you, that's why women lie about this stuff, because if they don't, you're not going to be interested. You know, like if you knew, my goodness, man, if you knew the behavior of a lot of what the women are getting up to these days from the outset, which fortunately a lot of guys are becoming a bit more clued onto. But if you could actually just hear it instantaneously or visualize it or know what the woman was up to, your interest would be here essentially anyway. Like it would just be down in the dirt, guys, because so many of the women, it's like their experience with men is so drastically high that you can't date them. Like you are people think this is like a doomer take, but this is really quite close to reality. Okay, if you try and date these women who have extensive dating histories with men, man, you are going to get cheated on. You are going to get treated terribly. Like you're going to get those text messages that, you know, she's going to lie to you about falling asleep and stuff like that because she'll be at some ex-boyfriend's house or some ex-situationship's house or something like that. And there's a reason why men's interest plummets like this. Probably many of you guys watching this video right now can relate to this part of the chart right here where it just completely plummets. Like you'll think that a woman's a princess. Maybe you are like young and naive and you hear her past and you're like, oh, damn, I'm not marrying that. You know what I mean? You're like, yeah, I'm just going to dip on out of here. I'll catch you later. And women clue onto this, and this is why they lie to men about it, by the way. This is one of the big reasons.
You let us get attached, and then you drop all the dirt on yourself. This is like, I used to be a stripper, I've slept with 400 people, I had a threesome 2 days before I met you, and you don't know how men think, so you expect us to go, oh, it doesn't matter, I love you now. And it never works that way. It always works like you should have told me this here, and then we would never have gotten here. And now I have to get rid of you. I have been told I have a boyfriend or a husband 18 times. This one is the monkey branch. That's when we offer you something stable and you get bored after about 3 months and you bail out for a new guy.
Oh yeah, this is the best part. This is a classic experience for men, guys, is you date a woman, you treat her well, you look after her, and she gets bored and leaves you for some random guy. Now, the thing about this is I actually think this is a silver lining because, honestly, thank goodness you got rid of the woman. But this is so damn common, man. Like, I think so many dudes watching this video can relate to this experience. Like, you start treating a woman well, you know, you start providing for her, being what society tells you a real man is. Okay, you, like, step up. And then the more you do this crap, the worse the behavior becomes from the woman. And I actually think this has a really strong correlation, by the way, with how many dudes the woman has been with. Like, if a woman has been with 30 dudes, she'll get bored and unappreciative very damn quickly. Compared to a woman who hasn't been with any guys, for example, it's going to be a lot easier for her to appreciate you. And this is one of the issues that men have, is men like to feel appreciated. Okay, men like to feel respected. They like to understand that there's gratitude there. Like, no dude wants to provide and care about a woman who just thinks that's what men are supposed to do and treats you like garbage. But this chart, so accurate for men.
This one happened to me a bunch of times before I even knew what was happening. And then girls started bailing on their boyfriends for me, and I went, oh, that's why they were leaving. They found something else. And then that guy puts her in a situationship because she was just a time passer and she tries to come back. And that's like, hey, remember when we were dating? Well, I went and tried a bunch of guys I liked better and they were mean to me. You want to get married? And
holy hell. How disgusting is this one, by the way? You know, I feel like this guy is just talking through the experiences that men have just back to back to back. But guys, I'm telling you, if you're a dude and you're getting up there in age, you're an older fellow, you have probably received these messages from women as you've gotten older. Like, let's just say you're some dude and you're like 29 and you've maybe gotten your career together or something like that. You're going to receive interest from women who used to never like you. And then they're going to be like, hey, remember me? Surely I can come into your life now. I've gone and I've dated all of these guys and now I'm ready to settle down because I know what I want. And dudes just look at these women and go, oh, hell no, man. Oh, hell no. Like, if you go out there, guys, and you talk to men in their 40s, they'll have plenty of these experiences for you. You know, because women typically, they'll overlook the good guys, they'll overlook the guys who are stable, who would care about them and that sort of thing. They'll go out there and have their fun, and then they'll try and come back before they hit 30 because they realize they need a stable family unit. And of course the men are like, well, I don't want to date that, right? Like, you never cared about me before, but now you care about me because you're running out of time. That's not how this works. And this is how you end up with so many women who are like 35 and they don't have children and they have cats instead. Like, I'm not even trying to be mean, guys. That's literally how women get to that particular scenario.
And, no. That's what leads to this situationship cycle. As a man, once you recognize these patterns, you just try not to get too attached to keep yourself even. And then there's just this cycle of women that show up and they say, "What are we?" And you say, "Just friends," and they leave. And another one shows up and says, "What are we?" And you say, "Just friends," and they leave. And the first one comes back. So now I'm all famous and stuff. I got a lot of women in the DMs. And they all say, "Oh, I would be the perfect wife. I would love you forever." And I don't believe them anymore.
Yeah, I mean, as a guy, you can't, and that's the really sad part, man, is like, you might be a guy who becomes successful. And this is what I was talking about a second ago. Let's just say you were, to women, right? You were considered a nobody because maybe you didn't make enough money or maybe you weren't attractive enough. If down the line you make significantly more money, or like you become a doctor, or you look so much better now because you've been hitting the gym and, doing all of the things you can, like, you're going to get interest from those women who treated you like trash previously. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of them are not going to be very high quality at all. And it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy how that works. There's probably a bunch of you watching this video right now who can attest to exactly that experience.
I just don't know what's going to happen here. We used to solve this problem by punishing this behavior. You would just be shamed out of society for trying to turn a situationship into a real thing because we know what it does, and couples would stay together.
I feel 98% confident that the first thing you're looking at is whether she's pretty, whether she's hot to you.
So no, it's not about how hot the girls are. It's not about measuring personality versus looks. It's that I need to be 98% sure that you're not married or a stripper or just passing time, and there's no longer any way to do that.
Yeah, and that's the problem, right? Is like, you have so many women who will just absolutely lie about this. I have seen dudes who have been in marriages for like 10 years or 15 years, and then they find out horrible things about their wife. Like, let that sink in for a second, guys. Like, I'm not married. I'm not a married man, for example. I have no intention of getting married. But that would be so damn stressful. Like, imagine having this experience right here with the line going directly down, indicating the man's interest. Imagine having that when you are in a marriage, man. A marriage of like 10 or 15 years. Because what you understand is that the woman is not who you thought that she was. If you would like to get early access to videos, weekly lectures, and case study breakdowns of human behavior, make sure you check out the members area link below in the video description. Otherwise, make sure to click on one of these videos on screen now if you enjoyed. Make sure you take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.